there's a little bit of a story behind this image, and it worked out well too. I never had to really change lenses.
Hello, I'm John Swindle with the Luminous-Landscape. Check out Luminous-Landscape.com if you haven't heard of us. We have a huge amount of resources for photographers in terms of knowledge and inspiration. Check it out, Luminous-Landscape.com. And today, we are spending time with Michael Durr. Michael Durr is a photographer, videographer in Indianapolis, Indiana. Michael's a longtime friend of both PhotoPXL and the Luminous-Landscape. Today, he is walking us through his trip to Italy. And Michael took the new Sony lens f2 all around Italy, and we're going to see and hear tips, tricks, and his opinion of this lens. All right, without further ado, let's welcome Michael. Hey, Michael, how's it going? What was your goal on the Italy trip?
Yeah, so my family and I took a trip to Italy. It was a couple of years in planning. My wife did most of the planning. But as you know, it's a beautiful place. We were in northern Italy as kind of our home base in a city called Desenzano, which is the southern point of Lake Garda, if anyone's familiar. But yeah, we had a home base Airbnb in Desenzano, and we basically stayed there the entire time. We were there for about a month, and we did trips around the lake. There's a lot of beautiful little towns around the lake. And then we, after Desenzano, went up to Switzerland and stayed in the mountains, and then kind of came around and we flew out of Munich back home. So over the course of that time, I mean, we were in Venice for a couple days. We were in the Dolomites for a few days. It
Oh,
was
wow.
like a really good mix. My boys are 5 and 7, so as you can imagine, we we had our highs and lows.
I had to keep up with them.
Yeah, and we wore them down a number of times, but I think overall it went as smooth and as good as it could have gone, I think, so,
Yeah.
um
Well, what's in your camera bag on a trip like that?
yeah, and it's cool that, we had talked about the Sony lens, you and I was like, "Man, I think that would be, like, the perfect lens to bring on a trip like this because it's got that shallow depth, it's got a good range, 50 to 150." So I was kinda like, "Hey, think any chance I could try that out or do a little, shooting with it?" And I appreciate you reaching out and letting me do that because it literally did not leave the camera body. Like I use that lens exclusively.
Nice.
So I had that in my bag. I did bring my 20 mil. I have the 20 prime because I knew I'd want some super wide shots, landscape shots. But what I found with the 50 to 150 is I did a few stitched panos
Ah,
and it worked out really nice. So they're like really high res and
nice.
like with Lightroom, it does such a good job now at like stitching them together. And I just kind of, held the camera, pop, 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 and I did one, I think it was like 7 images vertically.
That's
So
awesome.
yeah, it's a super high res image. And it worked out pretty well. So it was a little like, it's a big lens, right? Because it's such nice glass and stuff. So carrying it around, in a backpack along with our stuff and all that kind of stuff, it weighed me down a little bit, but like, I would have been that way either way, basically, because I would have had either my 70 to 200 or my 24 to 70 probably.
Mhm.
Or I would have had both of those lenses and then I would have had even heavier, heavier load.
Yeah.
So, it actually worked out really nice. I kept it on my shoulder strap, when we would do little short jaunts, and I'd keep the bag in the car. And then if we did a little more hiking, I just kept it in the bag and would swing it out, when I needed it. So, but I mean, it's beautiful.
Nice.
Shot amazing. I think I texted you a couple times. I was like, "So, how much is this lens?"
Yes.
Yeah. And
Yes.
I'm still considering it. I think it could replace a couple of lenses that I have, so, it worked out really well.
Oh, great. Well, show us some what stood
Yeah,
out.
we'll do a little it was a mix of family photography and landscape photography, right?
For
So
sure.
the lens was actually pretty perfect for that. You know, it's a beautiful portrait lens, but like I mentioned, it's a 50 is a decent stuff, kind of compressed landscapes, and then the stitch panos were really awesome too. But I tried to focus. It's always a challenge when you're on a family trip, right?
Yeah.
You know, to put the camera down or to, hey, I want to live in the moment, or hey, I want to capture the moment. So it's a struggle.
Right.
But I try to be pretty, and I do this like all the time. I try to be pretty like focused on when I want to shoot a good shot or like when the lighting's right, rather than just
Mhm.
kind of do snapshots, you know, all day and things like that. Um, so this one was like when we first pretty much got there. It was, you know, we went down to see the lake. We were about a 10-minute walk from the lake. So we walked down and they climbed up on these rocks and I was like, oh, this is perfect.
Gorgeous. Yeah.
If you see youngest is on the left, he's got the little camp snap camera. I don't know if you've seen
Oh,
those.
nice. Yes.
They both had one on the trip, and I still have yet to download and look at their images, but I'm pretty excited. I feel like the longer I wait, the better they'll end up being, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
Because they like to snap random stuff, and
Yeah.
I'll
Memories.
actually have photos of me probably.
Oh, that's true.
So yeah, that was a good one right off the bat, the little black and white processing. You might notice it's a little hazy, right? So
Yeah.
it was like that a lot of the trip.
Uh-huh.
I think it was just so hot. You know, as hot as it was kind of in the Midwest, you know, I'm from Indianapolis. It was super hot here and it was about the same there, you know, in the 90s. And just kind of had hazy
Mhm.
landscape background, but it kind of added to some of the shots, but
Yeah.
I'll just kinda keep going here and
Oh, look at that.
quick portrait, of my son, you know,
Yeah.
just the window light. It was, what is it? Yeah, there it goes. It's like snapping into focus, I think. There we go. Perfect.
Yeah, that's beautiful. So is this almost wide open here?
Yeah, almost. That's a good question. Let's see, I could tell you exactly, actually.
'Cause it's
Yeah,
real soft.
so
Yeah.
wide open, f2.
Yeah.
I liked that was the, like, the big benefit of that lens is, you know, I like f2.
Right.
And that difference between 2 and 2.8, I don't know, there's something about it, and it reminded me of, you know, some of the nicer primes, like the 85, and that
Mhm.
I really like that look. So it's a perfect portrait lens, really. This was probably as nice as my son looked on the on the trip. This is my oldest, and, his name's Logan.
Yeah.
And then this is
Oh,
actually so
awesome.
you'll notice I'm in this one, so
Yeah, how'd you do that?
I kinda set my wife up. She's dabbled, you know, in some, you know, having me as a
Yeah.
husband. I'll toss her the camera, kinda get the settings locked in for her,
Uh-huh.
and, she'll fire away, and I really liked this shot, actually.
100%. Yeah.
And that's my youngest, still sore from the trip.
Throwing, yes. Oh, so throwing them. Yeah.
My oldest thinks that he's that small and I can throw him as just as well, but not really the case these days.
That's you had to get in the way with it.
But
Yeah.
this is in, Lake Garda, you know, again, probably, yeah, 10 to 15-minute walk from our Airbnb, and we swam, I think, every evening or, you know, every late afternoon. The
Uh-huh.
boys just kinda needed to do that, if that makes sense.
For sure. Yeah. Well, that's perfect.
Um
Oh, look at that too.
I think this was wide open as well,
Yeah.
or pretty close to it, 3.2. Um, this was just it was funny, it's like in the back of the Airbnb, you know, in Italy, they hang their clothes to dry, right? So
Yeah.
it's like I found it, like, interesting that, you know, on all the decks and the patios and stuff, there's all the clothes hanging. So this was right in the backyard of our Airbnb, and, she had all these, you know, nicely colored hooks on the line.
Yeah.
I just thought it was a really nice light in the background, so I wanted to see some of that, like, boat
So now
glow
is
in the
this
background.
Sorry, is this like there's no additional blur or anything? This is just kind of
Nope,
straight out.
yeah, straight out.
That's really beautiful.
I try not to do too much, crazy edits, even in, the processing in general, I don't do a ton of color manipulation and stuff like that. I probably warmed this up slightly and, yeah, it's like, it's general stuff,
Just
right?
little
Like
touches, yeah.
bringing down the highlights a bit, contrast up a bit. I'm shooting in RAW, of course, so
Mhm.
just kind of bringing out some of the colors and stuff
Yeah,
like that. But it's pretty, pretty light editing for the most part. And again, I was kind of just messing with some of that shallow depth. This
yeah.
was You could see the lights in the background there.
Mhm.
There was another set,
In front
like,
of you.
right in front of me, so I was able to I liked this little bridge passway, in the background. That was like if you were walking down the hill from our Airbnb, that would go straight out, through underneath this tunnel and into, like, where the lake is, so kinda fun.
Very fun.
This was too I always tend to you always like to shoot the landscapes, right? But on a trip like this where I was trying to capture just some of the people,
Yes,
I'm
yes.
not I'm not I don't consider myself a street photographer really, but there are moments where I'm like, it's kind of cool to tell the story of where
Mhm.
where you are and try to capture some of the people there. So this woman was just kind of setting up the chairs for opening the restaurant, and it just kind of had a nice little vibe to
Did the size of the lens make you feel
it.
self-conscious at all being a street photographer? Like, we're like,
I
"I'm a
that's
a
No,
Swiss."
totally, yeah, and I would say yes and no. Because it's got a longer, focal like 150
Sure.
is typically, I could be pretty far away and kinda snap the stuff I wanted to snap.
Right.
Um, but yeah, I wouldn't really say is the greatest for the street photographer, it's a
Mhm.
little bit like, yeah, you have a giant lens. It's not super, you're not hiding with that one so
Right.
much, but it worked out. I don't personally care that much, if somebody doesn't wanna be photographed, you can pretty much tell.
Yep. Totally.
So, I'm pretty respectful of that, but I like to kinda shoot, you know, where they don't or people don't really see you anyways, so,
Mhm.
um, this is a good one, a little
Oh, yeah.
portrait. This was out, Sirmione, and I hope I'm saying these names correctly. Sirmione, I think. But it's basically we were in the southern, Desenzano is very south, Lake Garda, and then there's, like, a plateau that goes out. This was called Jamaica Beach, and basically this beach, you could kinda see the color in the background and see
Yes.
where it goes like a darker blue. You
Uh-huh.
could walk all the way out there. It's like a underwater plateau,
Oh,
but it's
neat.
like it's like slate rock, like the it's like
Oh.
so it was really slick, and, we weren't really prepared for swimming on this, journey, but we couldn't help ourselves, and my son was trying to skip a rock. He could
Oh,
actually
yeah.
see the rock there frozen.
Oh, neat.
It was a round one. I don't think it skipped too well, but, he was having some fun there, so. This is another one, like I said, trying to capture some of the locals. I like this we
Yeah.
like this beach a lot called Margie Beach.
Mhm.
I was trying to think like, "Oh, let's show where we're at, but also show the people." Again, that super shallow depth.
Yeah, it separates them, doesn't it?
Yeah, I really like that look. I think, yeah, that was wide open. So I'm shooting it like, yeah, it was 1/8000th
Nice, nice.
at ISO 100, so it was super
Yeah.
sunny. I didn't really have an ND on it.
Right.
I did have an ND, but I forgot that it was a larger
Oh.
larger size.
Mhm.
So I wasn't able to put it on there. I would have captured some video clips, and I probably still should have in some of the indoor spots, but didn't really get a chance to shoot too much video with it. But it would have been fun to do that. Um, Another one, you probably notice a little theme here of, like, shooting through stuff
Yeah. Yeah.
and using that, like, depth of field to kind of, frame out some things or give it some texture. So
Mhm.
this was just a little monument they had down by the lakeside in Desenzano, and I just kind of shot through another area. This one too is kind of fun. I was
That's awesome.
got kinda low to the water, was focusing on this flower here on the left, and I noticed later, I didn't even notice it at the time, there was, like, this blurry dragonfly.
Oh, really?
And, he was moving pretty quick, but I didn't even notice it, and I
Oh,
kinda
look at that.
when I opened it up in Lightroom, I was like, "Oh, that's kinda cool." He's a little I was gonna remove it, but I was like, "Kinda adds a little something."
A little an Easter egg dragonfly.
Exactly, exactly.
You know what? I forgot to ask, what camera are you shooting on here?
Oh, that's a great question. I have an A7 IV, Sony A7 IV.
Okay, good.
So as a profession, I do video and photography, and it's a good balance between both. So
Sure.
I am doing like I would say pretty close to 50-50, like video and photography.
Yes,
And I found that that camera really was like the perfect hybrid camera for both.
for
You know,
sure.
you're getting nice high res stills, but it also is great video and has a lot of good video
Mhm.
capabilities. So I actually have two camera bodies, A7 IVs,
Oh, perfect.
and they work out great.
Yes.
Another one, this
Wow.
is capturing some wildlife, but again, trying to find some stuff in the foreground, give it that kind of blurry frame look.
Yeah. That
Um,
reflection's really cool too.
yeah, exactly. The reflection in the water, and it was super hot this day, so we were kind of gassed, and I'm sure this deer was hanging out in that water for that reason too.
Yeah.
This one, my son, he actually has that camp snap in his hand. You can't see it, but we're like, go take a picture of the deer, and he just starts running, and it was like this perfect little scene.
Yeah.
But you could see like, he's moving away from the camera, and everything super sharp. Like the focus tracked really
Just
well.
did it just lock in really well?
Yeah, it did a great job. Yeah, at the autofocus, even at the faster moving stuff.
Mhm.
And my camera, it's not the A9. It's not designed to shoot super
Right.
fast like sports and things, but it will definitely works for what I need it for. Um, this too, just capturing
Oh, wow.
some of the indoor stuff. Now, a lot of the photography I do regularly is like editorial. So I shoot a lot of like restaurants, like
Okay.
locally here in Indianapolis, and a lot of different products and stuff like that. So sometimes I can't help myself.
Well, I can see why you'd want the lens because this is gorgeous out the gate, right? Just
Yeah, straight. I mean, it's pretty much not much done at all. It's wide open, focusing on this bottle, but getting some of the texture around it. I think I, did a little color stuff to give it that like warm. I think I took down some of the blues and things like that. But
yeah. Did you do anything with the contrast or like
yeah, I always boost contrast. I like them to be, a little contrasty. So I'm up, 25, and then I'll mess with the curve, the
Oh, okay.
tone curve. I usually will bring the blacks like up a bit. You can see it.
That's that's what I was like, it's crunchy, but yet it feels a little
Yeah, I don't love the like the super flat looking shots, but just a
Uh-huh.
little bit,
Yeah. No,
Is
it was a
this is
really nice
like
balance.
my typical like S curve, I guess, for most of the shots that I do. So
Like, why is he taking a picture of his beard?
yeah, exactly. And it's like, when you're in Europe and you're not normally there, everything's kind of different. So
That's
it's kind
right.
of fun to tell the whole story.
Uh-huh.
And this was at that same restaurant. So you can imagine, we're sitting at, a dinner table in a restaurant, and yeah, I kind of whip out this huge lens.
Yeah.
And it is a little bit big for these types of situations, but again, like it doesn't really bother me.
Right.
And no one seemed to mind. So just trying to I like these types of photos of my kids versus like the
Uh-huh.
standard smiling at the camera
Right.
type stuff. So I like to try to capture these little moments. Like I'd rather have this framed on the wall than like, the two of
100.
them standing there looking at me or something like that. So
100%. So what? So this is wide open, and what
yeah, that one
different
is as
ISOs
well.
is it?
Let's see. That was pretty dark in there, but I was at ISO 1600.
Yeah.
And that was at 50 because I was basically sitting across the table.
Right.
Yeah, F2. And
That's
it's like, I
important.
mean, it's a little, grainy, but I actually like grain in my shots.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
typically I'm adding more. I find that what I do like, so I'll end up taking some out in the like the luminance. Like I'll bring that up to kind of like soften it
Uh-huh.
and then bring it back in like because I like for some reason I like the way the Lightroom grain looks versus the Sony light grain, if that
Uh-huh.
makes sense.
Yeah.
So I'll actually kind of soften the image a little bit and then add some of the grain. It just gives it, I don't know, a little more texture.
Mhm.
You
For sure.
mentioned the word crunchy.
Yeah.
I kind of like crunchy images, I think.
Yeah.
um This, and two, I shot a lot of I was, like, obsessed with the little, like, running water fountains everywhere.
Oh, yeah.
It's like mountain water basically just kinda going through all the time,
Yeah.
and they all are so ornate, so I have a bunch of shots of different, water spouts, which is kinda fun. And just, like, freezing this water, yeah, so
Mhm.
it almost looks like ice coming down. I like that look typically, so but again, didn't do much to this at all. Here's some finally, like, some
There you
landscape.
go. Yeah.
Some luminous landscapes.
That's right.
So yeah, we went up to the Dolomites, and we had the first day that we were there, we had the absolute, like, perfect day. You could see the clouds, puffy white clouds. It was hazy, and I
Uh-huh.
tried to bring some of that back with the dehaze and Lightroom and adding contrast and some masking. So I did a little more work on some of these landscape shots,
Uh-huh.
than I probably normally would.
Right.
But that was really just to kinda correct for some of that haze. And you could see, and maybe I gotta do some, maybe you'll know. You know how you get, like, kind of these little halo effects
Oh, yeah.
when you do some of the dehaze stuff? I
Yeah.
don't know if they're without, like, going into Photoshop, if there's a good way to correct some of that.
Yeah, no, I'm not sure.
Something I'll need to look into, or I'm sure that somebody out there is kinda has some tips on, yeah, I guess you could go in and kinda mask really closely and stuff like that, but I didn't get that extreme
For
yet on
sure.
some of these shots. I might do that on some that I wanna print large, but
Did you find, so on this landscape, what kind of stop were you shooting at? And
that I usually am around f8 or, between f8 and f11. Let's see, on this one, let's see. Yeah, f8 on this one, and I was at 150, so all the way zoomed in, and, yeah, ISO 100.
yeah, yeah.
So it was cool because the mountains were a pretty good distance away. We were in, like, kinda this rolling hills, took some of the gondolas up to the area, the lifts up to this area. So the mountains are just kinda in the background, and it was like a perfect that 150 was, like, perfect for, like,
Mhm.
compressing
Bringing it
the
all in.
background,
Yeah.
which worked out real nice, so, this one
Oh, wow.
talk about the speed, right? So my wife, used to do gymnastics, and,
She still
she
does, I would say.
yeah, there was a giant trampoline up at so we were basically you go up of the lift, and it brings you to this park. It's a park, like, in the middle of the mountains. There was a restaurant there, just totally awesome. This was one of my favorite days probably.
Yeah.
We had great weather. We were a little bit higher, so it wasn't as hot, and they just had this amazing park, and she's jumping on the trampoline, and I was like and she was like, "Oh, to do the flip," and I was like, "Okay, let's get this."
Let's set it up.
Don't know how many more flips she'll have in her, so
Right.
she did the flip, and it worked out really, really nice, but I did cheat a little bit. You could see just at the bottom, the trampoline. So
Oh.
I did a little Photoshop action on there to kind of remove that from the foreground to to make it a little more dynamic. So
Yes, yes, we
I
forgive.
there are times when I will mess with things like
Uh-huh.
that just to kind of enhance something, you know.
Mhm.
But I try to steer clear from doing any sort of massive AI edits.
It's tough to resist sometimes, that's for sure.
Yeah, it made for a really cool shot,
Mhm.
and
She's still
yeah,
doing the flip, right? So
exactly, the flip was still there for sure. Yeah, I didn't Photoshop that, although it
Yeah,
kinda looks like it could be,
yeah.
almost.
That's not even my wife. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. Another here, like,
Oh, that's
that
pretty.
that foreground, this was, I think wide open as well, just because I wanted that look. Yeah, f2, and again, I'm shooting at 64, ISO 100 at, 1/6400, so, like, super fast, but
Yeah.
wanted that kinda look. I'm sure, you know, again, like, I'm traveling with the family, and we're doing all sorts of stuff, you know, yeah, it'd be great tripod some of these shots and put on appropriate filters and all that kind of stuff, but it wasn't really a photography trip for me. It was more of
Yeah.
a mix. So
Well, it seems like it's a good grab and go kinda I mean, you've got that
yeah.
focal length and I mean, these are stunning, so that's
Oh,
good.
thank you.
You
Yeah.
did you did a good job, doing good from being a family man and a photographer.
Yes, and it worked out well too because I never had to really change lenses, and that's what I was excited about. There's nothing worse than like flubbing with your lens and like getting the
Yeah.
right length, and that's what was, like, really appealing to me to have this for this trip because I knew it would cover, like, almost the range perfectly, but it really did a great job, just, like, the weight of it and, like, not never having to remove it from the camera was really nice.
I guess, since you're doing stills, it didn't really matter much that the zoom stays the same length.
Um,
Wow, yeah.
yeah, it's kinda fun. I tried to get out, you know, during the golden hours, not shoot
Mhm.
midday. If I was gonna carry the camera out, try to get out during the good light moments.
Right.
This was just, yeah, one morning, misty clouds over the
Yeah.
peaks there. Back to
Oh,
the
wow.
water. This was actually like another park that we went to. It had one of those pumps, you know, where the kids could
Yeah.
pump the water. So this was just one of those backlit, really cool, colorful. And I for some reason, I just like frozen water, like
Yeah. Did you crop in at all?
no, no,
Oh.
I was, yeah, I don't think at least not very much. Let's see. Uh, yeah, basically not, just a slight adjustment on
I
the
was just like, the
yeah,
angle.
to angle
Well,
it.
that makes me think that the close focus is pretty decent for this
I
thing.
think yeah, this was all the way at 150, so I was actually pretty far away from it, you know, or, like,
Right.
back closer, probably down, I would guess if I remember, I was down, like, on my knee, you know, kinda
Uh-huh, uh-huh.
aiming for that, and, I I like I like this kind of look and stuff,
Yeah.
and obviously, I have the shots of, like, my son pumping the water and, like, the wider shot,
Right.
and I think that comes from my video background is like that, you know, that wide, medium, tight,
Telling the story,
mentality.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, you know, yeah, like, you're doing video as well, so,
Tell the story,
um
right? Yeah.
yeah, exactly, like 3 or 4 shots, that
Cover the
really
scene.
yeah, really tell the whole thing, so and it's fun, like, when I'm laying out an album, you know, you can kinda put these all together, and it really yeah, it really gives you a sense of the full story.
Yeah.
Um, Same here, like, this is kinda the iconic, spot that we were at up in the Dolomites, the little town that we were in, and, each just finding unique angles and shooting
Right.
through some of this stuff was kinda fun. Again, I think this was wide open too, or pretty yeah, pretty close, 2.5,
Oh, wow.
and it was probably, like, darker than it appears, you know, so having that extra, you know, f-stop is
Uh-huh.
nice, in this and again, like, yeah, I coulda tripoded this and shot it at f11 and had everything in nice
Mhm.
focus, but, you know, again, we're on the move, and this has kind of a cool look to it.
does.
Um, Same here.
Yeah.
So this is like really was pretty far away. I think I may have cropped in a little bit on this one. Let's see. Um,
Is this like
Actually,
one?
this is at 150. I didn't crop in on that one either. So this is up in the Dolomites.
Yeah.
And it just that, it's perfect lighting, the foreground, getting these kind of like light spots is really cool.
I think it's a good example of the compression along shooting longer lens landscapes.
Yes, and that's a good point. Like, I don't like the this would have been a cool wide angle shot too. But there's something about I've always liked kind of compressing shots. And and this one kind of has a unique look, cool clouds in the sky,
Uh-huh.
frames up nicely with these hills. Like, is a very like cool location to be.
Do you think this is an F8 also, like right around there?
Yeah, I think that was F8. Yep, F8.
Yeah.
And you can see, let's see here, focusing in on mountains are really crisp.
Mhm.
Again, I had that kind of graininess to it, but some of that was, let's see, it was at ISO 320, and I had actually went and added some more grain to it,
Yeah.
kind of give it that textured look.
Uh-huh.
I get it, like, I like the really sharp, shots too.
Right.
But for some reason, I like that I don't know, I just like that look of the little bit of a graininess to it.
Yeah.
Just that preference thing, I guess.
No, I agree. I think there's like a little subliminal nostalgic
Yeah,
vibe
it gives
going
it,
on.
that little bit of, like, film, look to it, I guess. And then I also liked, there's I have something about it, I guess, that adds a
Mhm.
little bit to it. This is
Oh,
a
wow. That's
this
very
a
cool.
this is a fun one. I always love the tilt shift look.
Yeah.
I came across it a long time ago when it was like kind of popular. They
Right.
were like doing time lapse videos and stuff with the tilt
Yeah.
shift. But I think, I mean, most people are probably aware, but if you're not, in Photoshop, there's actually a tilt shift blur, like thing that you could drop straight onto your image.
Yes.
So I did this in Photoshop, but the thing about it is, like, to make this work properly, you have to be at like this angle. That makes
Uh-huh.
sense. Like,
Uh-huh.
I think it's like a 45-degree angle roughly. And then you want to really up your saturation. And then obviously you want a lot of like things, so like a lot of people or like a lot of color. And this just kind of worked perfectly. So I knew like when I shot this that this was going to make a good tilt shift shot.
That's very
because
cool.
because it'll look like a miniaturized town basically.
It
So,
does. That's really, really good use of that.
and everyone always comments on these shots. They're like, how does that look like a toy or whatever?" And it's just that tilt shift effect like makes it look that way. And if you
Mhm.
shoot it in that way about the 45-degree angle and then you up your saturation, it gives you that look. Some people don't like it. I've always liked it for some reason.
Oh, I think well, immediately I'm like, "Oh."
Yeah, it's just different, right? It's like
Yeah.
you don't see it as much.
Uh-huh.
And it was getting dark at this time, so, yeah, this is, like, ISO 800, still at f8. I was at 56 mil on it,
Yeah.
so, yeah, and again, I didn't have a tripod. I did have a tripod, I had the Peak Design. I actually borrowed from a close friend of mine here in Indy. He had the super light one, the carbon
Oh,
fiber one.
nice. Yeah.
So I traded him my bulky one for the trip.
Good.
And, I used that a couple times, but when I did the tripoded shots, I was, a little bit I was using my 20 for the most part
Uh-huh.
to get some of that, like, movement in the sky and stuff like that, so,
Yeah.
same here, like, can't help myself on the product side, I have a marketing background. I used to work, at ad agencies in Chicago and, you know, always getting that logo and showing the
Right.
branding and, like, so I like doing this when we go certain places.
Uh-huh.
and then I'll tag the locations or, things like that, and they always love it, like, not
For
every day
sure.
that's somebody's coming in with the
Uh-huh.
higher res camera and things like that and able to capture some stuff, so this was just one of the wineries that we visited. Like, saying here, back to the portraits,
Yeah.
um, daylight, super nice, little flowers as the background.
Mhm.
My son was hit with a Pringles can, so he's got this uh my oldest threw a Pringles can and hit him right in the nose and, like, cut his
Oh,
nose. Um, so, again, something I could remove, but it kinda takes away from the story
I
of it, you
think
know?
so. I think so. You gotta leave that. He'll
Yeah,
have
exactly.
he'll
With the
have
cut
happy
the
life, right? No.
Yeah, exactly. This is the instance where I was like, "Okay, this is a really nice time to try to get a good portrait of him," you know?
Yeah.
So I probably took not 100, but, 50
Uh,
shots from him trying to get him to smile right and things like
yeah.
that, so but it worked out pretty well.
Yes, yes. No,
And
no,
that yeah,
no, no.
exactly. And that's at 2.5,
Oh,
you
okay.
know? I just wanted that real
Uh-huh.
bokeh background, the colorful flowers and stuff like
Yeah, that's
that, so it
wonderful.
worked out pretty well, and you could see, like, it's super sharp. You could see me in his
Golly.
eyes, and
Yeah.
that's pretty
Oh,
impressive.
that's really cool.
Um, that's pretty cool, but let's see here.
It is sharp.
It is. I mean, that's the difference, like, the 70 to 200 would have been great, but it's not quite as sharp as this one,
Yeah.
and I was like, You get what you pay for, right?" Like, it's more expensive for a reason. And it was nice, to kinda have it and be able to put it into, like, a real world,
Right.
test kind of, and I think it will end up in my bag at some point.
Yeah.
After we paid for this trip, right?
Yeah.
Oh, this one here, again, like that going back to that, like, street photography.
Yeah.
Um, this is in Venice. I noticed this couple eating on this crazy this was, like, right into the water, and there's just, like, table here.
Yeah.
And she spotted me, like, taking her photo, so she waved, and you could actually see me in the reflection, which I actually kinda like.
Yeah.
And I just kinda she saw me, I snapped a couple, and then waved back and said, "That's a nice spot," you know?
Yeah.
And
He's
she looked
his hat makes me think of, like, the world's most interesting man, like, who is that guy?
exactly, and
Yeah.
I kinda like that he's, like, looking down and not doesn't really notice what's going on.
Right.
Just kind of a fun photo. This would have been a cooler wide shot. I
Mm.
think I was at about 50, so I'm about as wide as I could get.
Right.
But it would have been cool maybe to have my 24 on, because then you would have saw, like, how this thing is literally just, like, sitting,
That is.
on
Yeah.
the wall, and then there's just water, which is kinda
Uh-huh.
cool. But I like the personality of this one.
For sure.
Same here, messing with the
Uh-huh.
light. The sun was right behind this. I did a little more manipulation on this one, bringing down the highlights and
Uh-huh.
kind of changing up the tone of the blue a little bit. Um, but I kind of like
Mhm.
highlighting these silhouettes. They almost look like real people up there. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's very cool.
This was in Venice as well at where were we? Burano.
Yes.
They're known for their colorful houses, and I just loved for some reason, I loved the laundry hanging out.
Mhm.
And I think it's just 'cause, like, we don't really have that here, in the Midwest, and everyone's air conditioners and their dryers in their houses, so
Mhm.
something just colorful and interesting about the clothes hanging out on the lines, and I would have loved to have gotten a shot of somebody, like, sticking their head out the window and rolling in some laundry, but I never really came across that scene.
Uh, I once had a job. It's interesting that you're talking about hanging out the window, but I had a job in Venice. I was shooting commercials for a cruise line, and we went to Venice, and
Oh,
I
nice.
was like, I have to go early morning and get Venice before all the tourists come. I gotta go. So I was
Yeah.
up there in my camera going around. I was like, oh, here's an interesting scene with the window and the light was perfect and
Yeah.
the doors were closed. Well, as soon as I set up my camera and pointed at this thing, this like, I don't know, 50-year-old woman opens the door fully nude, and she
Oh, man.
sees me and she's like, "Ah!" And like she yells at me. I'm like, "Oh no, I didn't mean to do that." So
That's so
you're
funny.
oh my goodness, I was so
That's
embarrassed. I was
that's
like,
where that longer lens would have been a little more intimidating in that situation.
"Yeah," they'd be like, "You're picking on me, aren't you?" Yeah.
That's so
Um,
funny.
what a beautiful area. So
Yeah.
you switched to a little bit wider aspect ratio for this?
Yeah, this one I just did a crop, so I think this was probably at 50. Take a look here. Yeah, so you could see I cropped out this bottom, like,
Yeah.
shadow,
Yeah.
and
No, but
then, it would've probably lended itself to a nicer, like, wide shot again.
oh.
Um, but, I feel like I made it work, and I didn't
Yeah.
really like having to fumble around with my lenses. I'm always behind. I have a lot of shots of my family, like,
Yeah.
walking away.
Way down.
Uh, yeah, so this was kinda one of those moments, where obviously it's very cool with the colors and stuff,
Uh-huh.
and it was very hot this day as well, so we're sweating 90s, high 90s at this point and during the
Mhm.
day. So we were kind of on the move for the most part.
Yeah.
This guy was pretty cool. I was able to pop into like a little workshop thing that they were a presentation they were doing.
Yeah.
But I didn't have it was kind of towards the end of what they were doing, so I didn't have too much time in there. And there was a relatively large crowd, like kind of sitting around these tables. So again, like having that little bit longer reach, I think this was all the way at 150. Um, or it was at 80. Yeah. So, I was towards the back of the room, but kind of captured these cool like working shots.
Yeah, the
And
colors I
then
like the colors in this one a lot.
yeah, and it's all like amazing, like kind of north facing windows. That's what's lighting them. So the
Mhm.
lighting in there was like really cool.
Yeah.
And then, I was able to, like little shops will be doing, just little things at their desks and stuff when you walk in. And I asked this guy if I could take a photo of him working, and he told me I could take one shot. And I was like, okay, I better make it a good one. So I actually like the fact that this came out so well.
Yeah.
And
Beautiful.
yeah, I didn't really crop at all. And that was at 150. So again, I'm all the way zoomed in, standing like pretty far back. It's nice, like when you have that reach, like you could get a tight shot, but you don't have to be like right on top of it.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
Whereas if I had like my 24 to 70, it would have shot something that probably looks similar to this, but I would have had to have been like uncomfortably close.
Yeah.
So it kind of worked out for some of these like detail shots. Same thing here. This is another guy. He's making like the little Venice, boat.
On the
And
left.
I that's the detail of it, like
Mhm.
really, really cool.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, and I shot these way underexposed basically to get that,
Flame.
fire, like, not just blown out, and so it's a little, like, kinda crunchy in the shadows,
Yeah.
but I don't mind that. You could even crop this one,
Uh-huh.
more if you wanted to, focus more like a square, basically.
Did you lift the shadows at all in this then?
I did, yeah, so let's see, going to yeah, I'm pretty high on the shadows,
Yeah.
you could see the difference there.
Uh-huh.
But this would be good, you could crop it more like, square. I obviously like seeing his hands, but
Right.
a little more like that.
That's
Um,
cool.
could even do like a little vignette, bring it in, just
Mhm.
kind of dark in the outside. But
Is this the end of a
so
gondola?
it is. I'm glad you could tell what it
Yes.
was.
I was like, "Wait a minute, is it?"
I was gonna test you, and you already got
I
it.
was
So
like, "Wow."
yeah, the gondola was passing under the bridge, so I was up on top, and then I was like, it got a little bit lucky. It came out pretty perfect. So a little bit of motion blur, and you can, like you said, you can kind of tell like what it is.
Yeah.
But focusing on the reflections in the water was kind of cool.
That is very cool.
A little bit. I like those abstract shots. Kevin
Yes.
Raber used to always say find the abstracts, so that always sticks out in my head.
Yes. Well, I like that it's abstract, but I was like, wait, I know what that is. I know what
Yeah,
that.
exactly. You can kind of still
Mhm.
tell. And this one too, this is just in Desenzano, nice little sculpture down by the lake, and I was kind of shooting through some flowers to get these kind of like texture effects,
Yeah.
which is a little harder to do when you have like a 2.8 or a 4.6 or like
Very
you
true.
don't get that like blur as much. So
Uh-huh.
probably the iconic shot of the, trip.
Yes.
My wife really likes this shot, but, like, this is one that we also worked for.
Oh,
There's certain, like, moments that you're like, "Man, this is gonna make, like, a big, nice print on the wall
right.
situation." So we ended up finding this little beach. It was a public beach, but it was really small, and there was, like, nobody there. They had this dock, and you run off and jump into the water. It's crystal clear. It was a little chilly, but the boys were having a blast, and we did multiple iterations to try to get them, in the right pose or the right height jumping, and like this one ended up perfect, holding
Oh my
hands.
goodness. That's gorgeous.
And it's like this is the moment too where it's like when all the elements kind of align, I'll spend a little more time like trying to get the right shot because this
Yeah.
one I feel like I hope, we print it and then they show their kids or they look back on this one, hey, remember when we jumped in a lake in Italy?
Yeah. Uh-huh.
And then you could see my wife was actually in the water down here
Oh, that's funny.
and I got rid of that, which was nice. But
Yeah.
so you were asking what I was shooting that at. That was
Yeah.
at f7, so a higher res, like thinking I wanted a lower ISO. I was at 50 mil. I wanted to obviously freeze them, so I'm shooting pretty fast. But I knew I would wanted to print this one potentially larger, so I didn't go as grainy as I normally would on some of them, if that makes sense. So
Yeah.
it's pretty like really sharp.
Yeah,
And
very
like
sharp. Look at that. You can see like the beads of water.
yeah, beads of water, the lighting was really cool, like, it was kind of that, like, filtered light through the clouds, so it was, like, really soft,
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
and I did, like, stylize this one a little bit more than I normally would. Um,
Does the foreground, is this natural or is there
it
well,
is I'm actually the camera is on the deck, so I had, like, the flip screen out on the,
just
A7 IV, like, yeah, looking straight up, and it's sitting on the deck.
that's cute.
So it was nice for me. I was able to shoot, track the focus, but I wasn't moving, I wasn't handheld. So
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
it really kept like the sharpness and the quality is really cool.
So on that moment, did you just press the buoys, like put your finger where it was? Like, or did
Yeah,
you
so they would
back
kind of
out manually?
stand, they didn't just run and jump. So they kind of stood here towards the bottom and we did a little countdown. So I was able to kind of focus on their position. It
Yeah.
wasn't like they were, yeah, like full on running, if that makes sense.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
Which worked out pretty well. But this probably one of our favorite shots of the whole trip, just that moment.
Absolutely.
And then similar here, this was in Bordolino, I think. This is along the lake on Lake Garda. Just kind of had this cool like fountain thing out in the water, and it was on some sort of timer, so it wasn't going for very long. And I managed to get a couple cool shots of that. But again, shooting through the stuff to add that like
Right. This
kind of
almost has like a double exposure effect.
yeah, it's like that. It's like a natural in camera effect, and
Mhm.
I was basically messing with that the whole trip just because of that shallow depth of field.
Uh-huh.
But yeah, it's like really sharp.
Yeah,
And
totally.
kind of focused in on it. You see the people in the background, but
Uh-huh.
again, it kind of blurs out the background even at that distance. So, and I mean, this flower here is like, right on the lens, basically.
Oh,
This is where I look creepy, probably from the
yeah.
external eye, where I'm crouching down in the bushes and stuff like that.
That's that man with the long lens in the bushes. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. This one again, something totally different, but
Yeah.
showing you kind of the versatility. We
Wow.
ended up finding in the town that we were staying, they set up like this little art market and they had like a live performance. and this girl was singing, and so she's got the stage lights, and it was just totally dark behind her, but it did a great job at like capturing the
Totally.
action.
Yeah.
Um, and it was kind of she obviously looked kind of cool dressed up,
Uh-huh.
dressed up. So
And
it
the
was kind
kind
of
of
fun.
what is this also a wide open kind
I
of
think
situation?
so. I think it was pretty dark, yeah, too. And I knew I wanted to shoot pretty fast because she was, really moving.
Moving around,
So
yeah.
again, ISO 1000, and I mean, there's not much, not
No.
much grain there at all. Like I probably could have pushed it even more if I had to.
D
This one, it like was a little bit darker,
Yeah.
a little bit wider, but again, like
Golly.
nice and crisp for the
Yeah.
most part.
I mean,
Uh,
that's almost that zoomed in could still be that's
yeah, that's true. I don't love like doing crops, like when I try to shoot everything
to make you feel
at
guilty.
not really like this is where the high res with like the R series would come in
Okay.
handy,
Yeah. Yeah.
where you could crop in, or if you're doing wildlife and you kind of don't have much choice.
Yeah.
But this one again, like I wasn't shooting the concert, like so I just try to get a few cool shots just
Uh-huh.
to kind of test out the lens in this particular situation, but it netted out a couple of cool shots.
For sure.
Um, Same here. I found a lot of cross the table kind of shots,
Uh-huh.
throughout the trip, and they're actually watching a show on the phone, which I thought was funny.
Yeah, yeah.
So they're both pretty dialed into the phone sitting here, but with that shallow depth, like I think
Yeah.
this was like like the salt and pepper thing, or like
Uh-huh.
you could kind of make this art photo just sitting at a regular table where you can't really do that with,
Yeah.
it'd be difficult if you had to carry around, three prime lenses and find the right one for the right moment. So like that's where the lens I think
Uh-huh.
really performed well.
Well, it does really well on the highlights icon is around is like it's falling off, but it's blooming a little bit with the
Totally, yeah,
it's really
yeah.
pretty.
It had a nice, like, kinda natural vignette to it, as well,
Oh,
which I'll typically add maybe a little bit of a vignette, depending on the shot, but it had, like, a natural, like, lens vignette, which worked out pretty nice. And almost done here. This was, that more, like, kind of iconic
uh-huh,
landscapey type shot. I went solo on this little journey, but went up to this is the Sphinx Observatory in
uh-huh.
Switzerland, and, it was really cool up there for sure. All of a sudden, you spend, like, a week in 90-degree temperatures, and then you're in the snow.
No.
So it was, like, kinda cool. I liked this kinda beat up flag,
Uh-huh.
observatory in the background. Again, I got lucky with kinda cool cloud textures in the sky and stuff like that, so,
Mhm.
and then here, let's see, I think this is one of my favorites.
Totally.
This was a stitched pano, and I
Very
think it
cool.
it was 3 shots, so, 1, 2, 3 on the verticals. So it's nice, really high res. I actually, printed this large, with vivid metal prints. I don't know if you've checked them
Oh,
out. Yeah,
you shoot this handheld then?
handheld, yeah.
What
Just
kind of
kinda
shutter speed did you do?
let's see, I tend to shoot faster than I probably need to sometimes. So,
Yeah.
yeah, I was at 1/500,
Okay.
so not super fast. F8, it was at 94 mil ISO 100. Because again,
Yeah.
I kinda know in the moment, like, yeah, that's gonna be one that I wanna print, or, like, that's gonna be a good one, right?
Yeah,
So
yeah.
it becomes less editorial at that point and more focused on making, like, a shot, if that makes sense? And I just saw like the scene, you just look at it and you're like, is that
Mhm.
real? And then you have
Yeah.
this waterfall in the background,
Oh my
like
goodness, yeah.
coming off the glacier. So like this like alone would have been a nice like vertical image, like just the center image.
Yeah.
But adding that like kind of frame and the way it kind of comes down and everything flows into like where this waterfall is, the low clouds are kind of cool. But I didn't really do much at all to the shot. Like it stitched really well straight out of Lightroom. and then I brought it into Photoshop, just cleaned I had a couple lens specs or, sensor specs.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Probably shoulda got it cleaned before I went on the trip, but, I just cleaned up some of those and things like that, but it was pretty much straight out of camera, which is pretty cool.
That's very cool.
Yeah, that those last 2, like this one and the shot of my boys, probably my favorite 2 of the whole trip, like these 2.
Mhm.
And then this one here was really cool. This was like, I think I shot it as 7 vertical shots. So it even goes a little wider, but I realized that it was just like too long. Like the frame looked really nice, like right here, basically.
Yeah.
And I did like you could see it did some weird stuff with the lines up here because it,
Oh,
like, did a generative, like, expand. This one even makes my computer run slow
oh, yeah.
because it's
Like, please
so
stop.
large. Yeah, but I ended up, like, cropping in tighter, so it
Yeah.
was even more pan on, just kinda lost out some of that.
Uh-huh.
Um these are like the lift wires, so you could remove those, but
Oh.
they do kinda add, like, to the story of the location. I would have loved to have had, like, one going up, but they were closed for the night.
Oh, yeah.
But you imagine this scene with the lift coming up, like, right here would be really cool. But yeah, I was planning to go in and, like, kinda clean this image up a little bit, like, kinda maybe remove some of these just little things that are distracting. There's, like, this tarp thing here in the background. So, like, when I do stuff, like, and I do wanna print it, or it's a little more, like, art focused,
Right.
like, I will go in and do those types of things, like, clean up some of that stuff. I
Right.
got a person over here just kinda standing, like, could remove him pretty easily,
Yeah.
stuff like that, but the scene was really, really cool. We were actually staying kinda, like, right down back in this area, and this was in Switzerland, so
Oh my goodness. Well,
but that was all the ones that I had. There's more obviously, but, tried to keep it reasonable, but give you a good sense of, variety.
yes. That was great. I mean, I think you did a great job of capturing your trip and talking about the lens and getting a variety too.
Yeah, and I mean, I'm really appreciative to you and to the team that let me use it for such a long period of time. It
Oh,
was great. Yeah, I had a great time using it. It was perfect for what I needed.
did you see any problems with it?
Not no, like, nothing. The only thing that I would have liked to have had was a appropriate size ND filter.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
But then probably would have done some video or something with it, which would have been fun, but I tend to like to shoot photos more than video.
Mhm.
But if I was on my own, like, or on some sort of photography trip, like then it changes the game a little bit.
Yeah.
You bring your tripod or, bring out a drone and do some video and like that type of stuff is really, really fun. So at some point it'd be fun to put it through put it through the paces of video. So
It's yes, for me, I've got a job that's come up where I just spec'd, the kind of the Canon version of this, but I guess it's a 28 to 70, but it's only
yeah.
f2, but this focal length
And
and the
yeah,
shot seems
and that
amazing.
28 to 70 I've seen and I've, held. It's heavy, like,
Oh,
I
it
was
is.
surprised that this lens really isn't that heavy, like, or it wasn't obnoxiously heavy,
Was it
a
balanced
little
alright?
little bit heavier than the 70 to or the 7200's a little bit lighter,
Oh, uh-huh.
but with that glass in there, I mean, it makes sense why it has to be a little heavier, but it wasn't like, "Man, this thing, I don't wanna carry this around," like, if that makes sense.
Did you end up using the focus hold buttons?
I didn't really, I don't tend to do that very
Yeah,
often.
I wasn't sure if that was even a
You definitely I mean, it's set up, yeah, to do that, and I just didn't have a need maybe if doing video would have been,
right.
would have used that a little bit more probably.
Maybe a wedding photography
Totally,
thing.
yeah.
Let's see, did you and the declickable aperture ring, I guess that wasn't a thing for you probably either.
No, didn't really need to worry about I kept it on um, the non-click, you know,
Yeah,
version.
yeah, yeah.
I get like some people like that, that
Uh-huh.
texture, that feel. But yeah, I just had it, set the digital version. So
Yeah. You could have achieved this with primes, but it seems like this is pretty do we need primes? Like,
that's the thing. Like you could have, but it would have been so much more time consuming, and you'd really have to make. I don't like having to in these types of moments, like, when you're trying to snap the shot and then, go get in the water or
gotta
whatever.
be quick. Yeah.
Yeah, you gotta be quick and being able to have that prime look with the flexibility of the zoom was like perfect.
Yeah.
And like it literally never left the camera. If I shot a wide, like it was a very specific shot,
It
that
was
I
yeah,
wanted. So I
right.
tossed a 20 on there for a shot and then
Uh-huh.
throw it right back on. And then when you're out, too, like as a landscape photographer, you don't wanna be jacking around with your lenses outside all that often.
Yeah, yeah.
I did love the fact that all the beaches in Italy or along this lake were rock beaches.
Uh-huh.
So
Yeah.
there was no sand, to worry about. So all my bags and gear and everything didn't have any sand, which was awesome, so
Did you have any unexpected things with this discoveries at all with the camera or with the lens or anything like that?
I knew I was gonna like it, but I ended up liking it a lot more than I was even anticipating,
Yeah.
to the point where, like, I'm starting to think, like, "Okay, probably should get this one."
Did you sell your primes, I guess, in order to do this
That's
kind of
so
thing?
I have a, 50-1.4,
Uh-huh.
and I have my 70 to 200, and I think I could honestly get rid of both of this, if I got this one.
Yeah.
The 70 to 200 is just a great, lens, events and like
Right.
weddings. It's versatile. It's light.
Yeah.
So I do love that lens, but to to have the f-stop 2.0 versus the extra, focal 50 millimeters, I think that would benefit me more.
More.
So if it came down to, like, I really need to pinch some pennies to, like, get it or whatever, then I could probably replace the 70 to 200 and certainly my 50. But then it's like you said before, like, something nice about that 50 being so small, and, you can go in with the intention of shooting some portraits. So everything kind of has its place, but I don't mind. I have big hands and
Yeah.
I'm used to carrying around a lot of stuff.
Here. Yeah.
So having a bigger lens doesn't really bother me, but I could see like some people maybe not wanting to carry that around.
Yeah. Was the biggest criticism, I guess, or the
Uh,
price?
yeah, it's just the cost. I mean, but I understand why it costs what it costs.
Right.
I wouldn't call it necessarily overpriced, I guess, especially when you consider like what you can replace with it. Like if you have a 50, an 85, and a 135, you could get rid of all three of
Right.
them.
Right. Right.
So, and that's, if you think about it in that way, it's actually a pretty affordable lens.
Right. And it seems like
And
you'll have it for a long time and
yeah, and you never like then you're also saving your camera too because you're not having to swap lenses all the time. So if you want that look, that prime look,
mhm.
but it's gonna save you time, it's gonna, you know, be a little more versatile. It works out. It worked out pretty well. So
Good. Let's see. Based on your experience, what type of photographer would you suggest this for?
that's a good question. Like, is it a travel lens? Maybe for the right person. Again, like, doesn't bother me to have the larger lens. I don't really care about having a big lens attached to my hip or whatever.
Yeah.
I could see some people, that are a little more street photographers or they're out and about and they want that like low profile handheld like
Mhm.
look to their stuff. But to me, it didn't really bother me. I think it would certainly be good for a wedding photographer.
Yeah.
Um, Great portrait. Like in studio portrait. I am assuming that it shoots really nice interviews.
I'm sure it does.
I
That's
would I
awesome.
would have like maybe you can run it through some interviews at some point, but like I would love to try that at some point. Have it on a tripod and do some nice interviews with it.
Is it a
Um,
little too short for sports, you think?
yeah, no, it's a great point. So I actually shot a sporting event. If you remember, we were chatting about that
Yeah.
the day 2 days before we left on this trip. The Indianapolis Alley Cats are our professional ultimate frisbee team here in town. And, I'm friends with, one of the owners of the team, and I've shot those guys for years now, and, I brought it out to their game, and it was really cool, but I'm able to get, like, right on the sidelines, so, I'm standing as close as I could get, and I don't think I left that 150, and I do wish it was closer,
Yeah, yeah.
but it's not I wouldn't call it yeah, I don't think if you're a sports photographer, I don't think
Wouldn't
it was really be the right tool,
right.
unless you're able to really get up in there, but I got some really cool, like, texture stuff, like, in the huddles and some crowd stuff.
I think I'm done with my questions.
Yeah, this was great.
Yeah, thank you,
I
Michael.
know we went a little long, but it's like I like being able to kinda show and tell, if that makes sense, and
Yeah,
I
yeah.
hope people find this, interesting, and certainly if anyone has questions, reach out to me about anything.
Let's do it.
That'd be cool for sure. So,
Yeah. Well, thank you, Michael.
I'd like to do more of these too, it'd be fun.
Wonderful, let's do it. Imma hold you to that. I know,
Yeah. So I do shoot, like, I have all Sony gear personally,
Yeah.
but I've messed with, a lot of other brands as well. I've shot Canon when I first started, I've shot a couple of Fuji cameras and, Sony, really was worked out well for me, kinda that living in that hybrid world,
Mhm.
and it's been great, so.
That's very cool. Yes, let's chat again. Thank you, Michael.
Yeah, no problem.
Alright, let's sign off.
Alright,
I'll
perfect.
catch you later.